For joining us, and if you would, please stand and we'll start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us for our council meeting on June 1st. And Yvonne, would you help us with the roll call?
Yes. Let's see, Bill. Angela Farnell.
Here.
Bill Neiman.
Here.
Brandy Bassett.
Here.
Chris Lytle. Chris, are you here?
Here.
Awesome. Clint Bledsoe.
Here.
We heard you. Thank you.
Can we turn the
I don't know what he can.
Is this me?
Okay, the first item on our agenda is consideration of the minutes from our meeting of May 18th as presented in your backup materials. Is there a motion regarding the minutes as presented? I'll move that we approve the minutes as presented. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. And it has been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or discussion regarding the minutes as presented? All those in favor of approving the minutes from May 18th meeting, please indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
We'll show Chris that was an aye, correct?
He wasn't there. I don't think he confirmed.
He was there.
Yeah, he was
Yeah,
here.
He was here.
Last week.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
All right, thank you, Chris. Okay, first item under old business is resolution number 050422A.
Hold up, mister. You skipped the new agenda items. Approval, minutes. Number 3 is new agenda items.
Okay, are there any new agenda items?
I'm adding Del Wagner's letter to the new agenda items that we got in our emails.
Okay,
And then I have Summerfest was going to pose a question. Did she ask you to do it, Jim? Okay.
I will, yep.
All right. So we'll do that under when Jim talks.
okay.
Okay.
Thank you. So we'll move, anything else under new agenda items?
No.
Thank you. So we'll move on to old business. And the first item under that heading is consideration of resolution number 050422A. And just for the record, I'm going to read the entire resolution. The resolution is titled, Resolution of the Town Council of the Town of New Palestine preliminarily authorizing certain actions and proceedings with respect to proposed economic development revenue bonds and related matters. The Town Council of the Town of New Palestine, Indiana met at a duly called and authorized meeting of the council held on the date set forth below, such meeting being called pursuant to a notice stating the time, place, and purpose of the meeting received by all council members, and the following resolutions were made, seconded, and adopted by the majority of those present or otherwise authorized to take official action at the meeting, which constituted a legal quorum of the council. Whereas Indiana Code Section 36-7-11.9 and 12 declare that the financing and refinancing of certain economic development facilities constitutes a public purpose, and whereas pursuant to the act, the town is authorized to issue revenue bonds and to take related actions for the purpose of financing the costs of acquisition, construction, renovation, installation, and equipping of economic development facilities in order to foster diversification of economic development and the creation or retention of opportunities for gainful employment in or near the town. And whereas the town, the New Palestine Redevelopment Commission, the New Palestine Economic Development Commission, and the Colvick Companies LLC and or one or more subsidiaries, affiliates, or joint ventures thereof have entered into preliminary discussions regarding an economic development agreement and related transactions on the general terms contained in Exhibit A attached hereto, relating to the development of certain real property in the town as described therein. And whereas, prior to entering into an economic development agreement or taking the approving actions required by the Act and related statutory requirements, the Economic Development Commission and Redevelopment Commission desire to receive the preliminary approval of the council to proceed with the transaction, with the knowledge that the establishment of an amended allocation area must be approved by the council in accordance with Indiana Code Section 36-7-14-15D as in David, and the final form of any economic development agreement and bond ordinance must receive final approval by the council in accordance with Indiana Code Section 36-7-12-25, and whereas the council desires to express its preliminary approval for the Redevelopment Commission and the Economic Development Commission to proceed with the statutory requirements for the transaction for the establishment of an amended allocation area and presentation of an economic development agreement and bond ordinance to the council for final approval. Now therefore be it ordained by the Town Council of the Town of New Palestine, Indiana, that, number one, the Economic Development Commission and Redevelopment Commission are hereby authorized and directed to commence the statutory procedures necessary to present the council with an amended allocation area and with a final economic development agreement and bond ordinance and other approving documents necessary for the issuance of bonds and the closing of the transaction described in Exhibit A. Number two, the proper officers of the Economic Development Commission and Redevelopment Commission are hereby authorized and directed to execute all required documents and to proceed with the transaction in accordance with the terms of Exhibit A, and upon completion thereof, present the council an economic development agreement with the developer and a bond ordinance and all related documents necessary to proceed with the issuance of bonds and the closing of the transaction. Number three, this resolution shall be effective upon its passage by the town council in accordance with procedures as required by law. So that is the entirety of, except for Exhibit A, of resolution number 050422A, which was tabled at our last meeting because of a tie vote. At this time, is there a motion regarding resolution 050422A?
I have Susie grabbing some copies of that off the printer so that we can pass it out to people if they're interested in seeing it, what the
Okay.
resolution looks like.
All right, so we're making copies.
So I got a question.
Hang on, sir, we're not yet to public comment, and even the council isn't ready to discuss the item. We don't have any discussion until there's a motion and a second, and under Robert's Rules of Procedure, then discussion amongst the council is appropriate. So, we have to start with the motion. Angie, do you want to wait till we have the resolution in hand?
You guys want to see the resolution? I know this, when somebody reads to you, there's stuff you can miss.
I don't care.
I mean, if you guys don't want to see it, that's fine. It's up to you. You want a copy? Okay. Can you get one to Dale for me, Susie? Ron, would you like a copy? You lost me at the town met at a duly called and authorized meeting, and then after that, I just
That's,
couldn't.
you missed all the good stuff?
I figured I could read it.
I would gladly
No, please don't read it.
nominate
I-
somebody else to read it.
Ew, I'm good.
Read it in the teacher voice.
Better yet, I could do my nursing lesson all in one breath.
Yeah.
Each one 3 pages? Yeah.
It's actually 2 pages, and then the exhibit is 1, 2, 3 pages. So there should be a total of 5 pages.
Do you get 5, Dale?
Dale, did you get 5 pages just to make sure? Because
He's driving.
Yeah, he's, Kristen's,
Kristen's driving,
yeah.
Like, what the
and
heck?
Chris is falling asleep.
Yeah.
okay, would anyone else like a copy of the resolution? Because once is enough. Oh, you know why? Because it's doing double-sided.
Yep.
Okay, so we have copies that have been handed out. Is there a motion regarding the resolution? Well, so that we can get the discussion, I will move that we approve Resolution 050422A. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, so it has been moved and seconded, so it's open for discussion. And Chris, are you able to hear us? What do we need to do to get Chris's volume? Perfect.
I can hear you, can you hear me?
We can, thank you. So we have a motion and a,
I can hear you.
thank you. We have a motion and a second regarding Resolution 050422A. So at this point, are there any questions or comments from council members?
This is just to move forth. It's not saying that we are approving to
This
do
is,
this. It's just to keep the ball rolling.
this is not anything final. In order to, there's a timeline that I gave out at the last meeting that, wouldn't be completed until the earliest in October. This is simply to move forward and to authorize the Redevelopment Commission, the Economic Development Commission to do their parts. So no, this is just preliminary approval to move forward with the consideration of the project.
Okay.
So make it very clear that this is a preliminary resolution. This is not final action. But according to the statute, this is the first step that has to happen, has to originate with the council. We refer it to the Economic Development Commission and Redevelopment Commission. They do their part and they send it back.
Okay.
Okay? Clint, do you have any comments that you'd like to add? I know we've talked about it at several meetings.
Well, I'm still not for this because I don't think the TIF money should be used for an apartment project. Now,
Okay?
that's just my opinion.
No problem. We value everybody's opinion.
Okay.
Chris, do you have anything that you'd like to add in the comment section? Chris, you're breaking up a little bit. Can you try again?
No,
Okay. Thank you. Brandy, do you have anything that you would like to add?
No.
Angie, do you have anything that you would like to add?
Well, yes, I did talk to Travis today. Travis Tucker on the phone during my lunch hour today. And we had a good conversation. So, yeah, no, I've got all my answers.
Okay. All those in favor of approving Resolution 050422A, please indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
I,
Opposed, indicate by saying no.
No,
Okay, the vote on the matter is 3-1.
And I abstain.
And with one abstention, yes, we will definitely have the record show that. Next item on the agenda is Woodland Terrace, their Form CF1, which is a tax abatement form. And at the last meeting,
No, I'm sorry to interrupt you. It's all back here, I think, wanted to make a comment.
Right, and we have a comment section on the agenda. We're not there yet, but we'll certainly get to it. Thanks. Yvonne, we had a couple questions at the last meeting,
Okay,
just general information regarding the Woodland Terrace tax abatement.
okay,
Like,
let me see if I can answer that, go ahead.
do you know how many years was the abatement?
The abatement was for 5 years. Those abatements start the moment, not when they're approved, but once the building is going into use. So once they started moving people in.
Do you know when the abatement expires?
Yes, you'll get your first real tax money in year 6, which will be for taxes for 2024 payable in 25.
Okay,
So the last year of the 5-year abatement is 2023, paid 24.
okay, those were the questions that I had. I just wanted to know when it started, when it expired, because, you know, this is an annual form that we have to
Yeah.
file. We've signed it in the past, it's been filed in the past. I just, because I wasn't on the council when it was adopted, I just had a couple
So
of
my
questions.
understanding is that this is the form that is used when the requirement for Woodland Terrace or anybody who has an abatement to show, to prove to you that they are doing what they promised that they would do in order to get the abatement. In this case, they have promised an increase of employees, and they're showing here that they had estimated they have 32. The actual amount for this past year is 95, and that instead of $1.3 million in salaries, they paid $2,774,000 in salaries. So they've more than met what they have promised.
Great. Okay, well, those were, does anyone else have any questions regarding Form CF1?
I do not.
Okay, thank you, and we will sign Form CF1 at the end of the meeting. We'll move into new business, and the first item under that heading in the agenda is just to take a look at the constitution of the Redevelopment Commission. And the Redevelopment Commission currently consists of 5 people and 1 non-voting member. Although, let me make sure that, yes. So, for the record, the president of the Redevelopment Commission is Steve Rainey. The vice president is Rachel Strong. The secretary is Mark Looney. I am a member. Russell Smathers is a member. So those are the 5 voting members. And by statute, there needs to be a representative from the school corporation, and that member is Dr. Landrip. So those are the 6 members. Now, the statute that creates a 5-member redevelopment commission states 3 members are to be appointed by the president of the town council, and the other 2 are to be appointed by the town council. I wasn't here when everybody was appointed. I believe I personally appointed Russell Smathers. So that was me last year as the president of the council. So I'm going to put a P next to Russell Smathers. Now, Clint or Brandy, do you recognize the other names? And did either of you, while you were the president, recall personally appointing any of the other 4?
I appointed Russell Smathers.
You did.
I did, yeah.
Well, the good thing is it still stays
He was
as a
appointed
P
twice.
because you
Yeah.
were the president.
Yeah.
Maybe
yeah,
I appointed his wife
to the other,
to something.
yeah.
Okay.
Russell Smathers is the only person that I appointed to that commission while I was president. Everyone else was already on the commission.
Okay. Well, now here's the good news. The good news is the statute that creates the redevelopment commission reads in 2 different parts. One part, it states that each member serves for a 1-year term beginning January 1, ending December 31st, and it's a 1-year appointment. The saving grace is the statute then goes on to say that each member of the commission, once they are appointed, their term will continue until their successor is appointed and qualified. So if, we'll double check the minutes. If we can't determine who the other two Ps were, meaning appointed by the president of the council at the time, and they may know and they may not, but we'll definitely check with them. And then we need to figure out who were the two council appointees. If we can figure that out, great. And if we can't, then at our next meeting, we will reconstitute the redevelopment commission during the meeting, with the hope that the 5 people will continue to serve. We'll just have to determine who they're appointed, and we'll have to check with them, make sure that they're willing to continue.
They are, I've spoken with them, we actually have a training meeting coming up a week from now.
Okay.
For them to familiarize themselves with what they are really going to be doing, considering they've been on this committee for a long time, but not really had to do a whole lot. But the first tax money from the TIF is coming in this
Okay.
year. More than the $18 that we got last year. And so I want to make sure that they are very well aware of what they're supposed to be doing, what their roles are, what their limitations are. So I called a meeting on June the 8th with everybody, and it's a training meeting that other people are welcome to come to as well. It's, but it's purely a training meeting on what they are supposed to do as the RDC.
And at what time? Just let me know.
Yeah, I'll let you
No
know.
problem.
I'm
No
thinking-
problem at all.
I think
Okay.
it's 6:30.
Okay, great.
And as best I recall, I believe that Clint appointed Rachel Strong in 2018.
While he was the president?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And we'll check with each one,
Yeah.
see if they recall.
Hey,
any. So we got 2
I-
Ps.
I'm not gonna go there.
What do you
If-
mean? You don't
if
remember?
not-
They're a
I
bunch
don't
of very
remember.
intelligent people.
They are.
I
I'm pretty
remember
sure that-
recommending Rachel Strong for
Yeah.
one of our boards.
That was
Now-
this, she's the only one she's
Okay,
on, yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll sort that out.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
ask each of them if they know, great, and if they don't,
Yeah.
then at our next meeting, between the council and the president of the council, I'll bet you we can come up with a division of 3 and 2. So,
Okay.
all right, thank you.
Can
Well,
I make a suggestion or
Sure.
a question? On the planning commission and the RDC, you're on both of those. I would like us to have either Clint or Brandy or even Chris
Well,
take one of those instead of Bill being on both.
Well, let us check the statute, because it might be a statutory requirement that the executive of the council serve on that.
well, let's check this statute.
Yeah, talk to me.
Commissioners and non-voting advisors pecuniary interests in property and transactions. A redevelopment commissioner or non-voting advisor appointed under section of this chapter may not have a pecuniary interest in any contract, employment, purchase, or sale made under this chapter.
Okay,
Does that fit you, Bill?
it does not.
Why doesn't it?
Why does it?
You work for one of the people in the TIF district.
I'm not interested in any particular project.
That didn't say that.
Yes, a pecuniary interest means a monetary interest. It's not a secondary or incidental
You're paid by the person that's in that district.
who gets no money from that district, no benefit from that district. That's not a conflict of interest, in my opinion.
I think it is.
Okay,
What does our lawyer think?
Pecuniary interest would arise if Bill's company or employer tried to have a TIF deal. But just being located in the allocation area doesn't implicate a conflict of interest.
and I'll go you one further. I live in the TIF district. Does that mean I'm disqualified? I don't think so. So, okay, but thank you for bringing up that issue. Anything else, Clint?
No?
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to the next.
Well,
Yep.
hang on, because I want to know what we're doing about the fact, I have an issue with you being on both the planning and the redevelopment.
Okay, well, I think a year ago, when we decided who was gonna be on what, we didn't have a lot of takers. So if you're saying that you wanna be on one of them, let me know.
I'm already on the planning, but Clint or Brandy could probably sit on the RDC. since
Sure.
They don't meet very frequently. Right, Brandy?
Is there
Well,
supposed to be a
Bran-
member of council on?
Brandy would have a conflict, at least
Mm-hmm,
in the foreseeable future.
right.
Okay,
So,
Clint or Chris?
Why would she have a conflict?
Because the hospital,
because your employer
That's
is
my
directly
employer.
involved in a TIF project.
Well,
right.
your employer is directly involved in a TIF project.
Absolutely not. What TIF project has Tharp Investments ever requested or participated in?
Well, it's
Ever.
a TIF district.
That's not the pecuniary issue means a direct monetary issue. If my employer received TIF funds, I would be disqualified. It doesn't. So right now, the only two employees who are disqualified would be an employee of the hospital or an employee of Bakovic Development. That's it. Those are the only two parties who have a pecuniary interest in a TIF district. So,
If I could just add a few things. Subsection C from section 7, which we were looking at, B first, requires that there's a certificate of the oath of office filed with the clerk. So we may check and see if there was those certificates filed with the previous clerk treasurer. That may suggest who the appointing authority is. If those aren't on file, then Yvonne, I'd suggest at your meeting, you have everybody fill out the oath of office and have this on file. And then subsection C requires that there is a bond in place for all members of the RDC, and so we should make sure that those bonds are in place as well. It's $15,000.
okay?
In my old memory again, I remember Russell being given the oath.
Yeah, we do the oath every
Yeah.
year. I've got them in the filing cabinet. And,
Yeah.
It doesn't specify on there, though,
Mhm.
who appointed them. And then the bond, that's
be in the
under
minutes.
the crime policy, right? So if that is not correct, the bond is not a specific bond that's in place, it's under the crime policy.
Yeah, as long as it covers $15,000 and it
Oh, yeah.
covers those members, then
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, because there's a potential conflict with the redevelopment commission, Brandy or Clint, would either of you have any interest in joining the planning commission? And I'll step aside from it.
One of you guys need to. It looks, it would be better for everybody that the president wasn't on the planning and redevelopment. So if one of you two could step up and do one of those, that would be helpful.
Does the planning commission also run into this conflict with TIF at all? Can you see that, them having to approve anything, or
At this point, my guess
at this
is,
point?
I don't know what else is in the hopper, but it sounds like everything that your employer would have gone through is already.
if the hospital were to come in and ask for variances or special exceptions, then yes, their project is already built.
Right.
But if that were the case, on that one particular matter,
I would abstain,
you would
yeah.
abstain, but just on that matter.
Okay.
So you want to be on the planning
That's fine.
commission?
Yeah, I have no problem with that.
Okay.
Sure.
So we will show that I will resign from the plan commission, and now, let me double check the statute to see who makes the appointment, but, is there a motion to accept the appointment of Randy Baston to the planning commission?
I make a motion that we accept Brandy into the planning commission.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Perfect. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of appointing Brandy Baston to the Planning Commission in the place previously occupied by Bill Niemeyer, please indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Chris?
Chris is froze.
Well, that's okay. It passes, I'm sorry, Brandy.
Aye.
Okay, motion, Brandy, I didn't catch your vote.
I said aye.
Okay, 5 ayes.
Thank you, Brandy.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay, so any other items under new business or any further discussion on that matter? Seeing none, let's move on to department reports. Bob?
Yep, we've been very, very, very busy here everybody. I don't want to talk about our cases, but we had an incident about 2 weeks ago. Been an unfortunate accident, 600 West of 52, where we had a hit and run accident, and the female victim passed away later in the day. We weren't called initially to the scene, so this was kind of a late call for us. And I actually had 2 officers who stepped up to the plate, Sergeant Jesse Wally and Officer Wayne Whitaker, and did a fantastic job. They worked their butts off, took on leads from the community, and we actually have a suspect in custody in the Hancock County Jail right now from the very determined hard work that these 2 guys did. With very little leadership on my part, these guys stepped up and did a fantabulous job. So if you guys do see them, congratulate them on the hard work they did. I'm just very proud of them.
Awesome, thank you, Bob. And that also is a subject of an article that's in the Greenfield Reporter today, as a matter of fact. So, yes, thank you.
Was that, we didn't get to Dale's letter in the business before we went to department reports.
Okay, do you want to read the letter, or you want to just show it that it's in the record?
I want to show it in the record, but then I would also like for somebody to get this information to Dale to make sure that we hit everything we were supposed to in regards to I think this was the one for the new annexation that's over there. Notice of the public hearing, fiscal plan wasn't adopted for the annexation, and annexation
Let's take it
adopted.
one at a time. The fiscal plan, you say?
Yeah, he said the notice of a public hearing was not given.
Okay, so Jim, do you have the notice of the public hearing? Because I think that we even have the article from the paper.
Yeah, we have the articles from the paper, the advertisements. I have the green cards. I have the receipts. So we had given him the publications, because I'm assuming that's what he's asking.
Okay,
And when he picked them up, I'd asked Jenny if that's what he wanted. So I'm assuming when he left, that was what he wanted.
okay. Dale, is there anything that you didn't get
I did get
regarding
that.
the notice?
I did get that, but it doesn't really qualify as a notice.
Did you get a copy of the ad that was run in the paper?
I got what appears to be possibly 2 pages of it. There's no heading. The beginning of it's missing. So
Yeah.
I don't know if what I got is what was actually published, and they're just missing 1 page.
What do you have to do? Is that what I gave you, or is that different? What I
No,
gave you was what,
It was what you gave me.
okay, which is what the newspaper sent to me as the agreement to publish it.
Right, and if that's all they're published, then it can't really qualify as a notice because it only shows all of the survey information. It doesn't really show the,
Jim,
it doesn't show
do you
it as
have
a
that?
notice.
Yeah, Dale, can I see what you're talking about here? Let me bring it over to Doug and make sure. If it doesn't qualify, we'll make sure we get you the right information.
Yes, I can find it. There's that page. And if you go to the next page,
Yeah, these are. See if these are both the ads.
And at the top, doesn't that show the date it was published?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
These, real quick.
So what the paper gives us
This is the
is
receipt that
those
they give us.
pages that where they say the date it was published in the paper and a copy of exactly what was published in the paper.
I actually get that before it's published.
Yeah, and what that says
First I read
is,
through to make
notice
sure.
is given that there's a meeting on this date for this issue, and then it gives the legal description of the property. That's what's required by statute. So, okay, so there's that notice of publication. Dale, is there anything else?
Was that good, Doug? The publication?
That's the publication that Ted provided. I've had an opportunity to go back and review the statute to double check Ted's work, because this just came up right now to me, but
You don't
I
have,
am
if you can just get it back.
very
let me know.
confident in Ted's work. Also, there's a difference in publication requirements for, this is 100% landowner, which is under section 5.1 of the code, which only requires notice in the paper. And I know Dale had previously thought that there was a requirement of actual mailing, which is not required when there's a 100% landowner petition.
But we requested the notice be mailed, and it was.
Yeah.
And you have, what do you
all.
have that, you have a list of who received notices, or who they were sent to,
Yep.
and then they would have been sent certified mail.
Got that copy.
And so when somebody signs certified, you get the green card that comes back. Do you have copies of those?
Yep.
You do? Okay, so Dale, do you have copies of those?
I have copies of some of them, but the green cards that I was given were not receipts. They
Wait.
were the copies of what was mailed out.
He's got, so I have the receipts also. Yes.
Okay, well, if you would, make a copy, maybe make a copy of those. Anything else? Because Dale will get you copies of anything we have at 10 cents a
So
page.
The issue with the notice is that this starts out on the beginning of it with half a word, and then it says north 00 degrees. So this is not, what I was given is not a notice of annexation. Up in the stuff from that they write up here, the word annexation is up there, but this was also published on like 110. I suspect if I saw the rest of the article, this is about a notice of a meeting at the New Powell Planning Commission, not at the town council meeting. Which
Okay.
the Planning Commission had nothing to do with annexation. So if that's the case, then technically notice was not given.
Except for notice of every meeting, the agenda is posted. We've given notice to the newspaper in advance of every single meeting.
It's at the library.
It's posted. Notice of every meeting is posted at the library, town hall, and where's the third place?
Post office
And at the post
And
office.
here at the door.
Yeah, town hall, the post office,
and the library.
and the library. So notice of every meeting is posted in those three places. So
Newspaper publishes once a year all the
every
town
meeting,
council meetings, so we have to give it to them, in like November or
But
something.
I think an annexation has special requirements, not just posting at the library. And that's not done 100% of the time, I can assure you, because I go there and check. So, if it requires it be published in the paper, then I should be able to find a copy of it. So I've also called the Daily Reporter myself to try to get the actual article of the whole thing.
Mhm. Well, and let's check our file and see if we have the entire article. Maybe you're missing a page, Dale, and if so, we apologize for that, because Jim, check your file, and if you would, Dale, compare what you have versus what is in the town file, because we'll make sure that you have copies of everything. Okay,
And then
anything else?
The fiscal plan was not adopted prior to adopting the annexation.
The fiscal plan was adopted contemporaneously. The statute requires that you guys contemplate a fiscal plan so that it's not done after the fact. So you guys adopted it contemporaneously, and that meets the spirit of the law. There's no case law that says that's illegal.
Okay.
But the ordinance says that you have to have the town meeting, and then you can adopt the annexation no sooner than 14 days after.
It was adopted finally at the last meeting, which was 14 days after the public hearing. So it was
No, the
introduced, it was
public
read,
hearing
excuse me,
The
Dale.
public hearing
Dale.
was that night, and
No, we-
they dismissed the public hearing, and then they moved right into adopting.
I wasn't there that day. The public meeting ended. The last time I was here, a month ago, there was an introduction of the ordinance. It passed on first reading, and then it came back last meeting, 14 days after the public hearing had closed. Now, if he resumed a new public hearing, public hearing was held, it ended, 14 days occurred, and then it passed on second reading at the last meeting. So it met the requirements of the statute again.
Okay, anything else, Angie?
Nope, I just want to make sure that he had his answers to the questions.
Okay, well, and Dale, if you're missing anything, just check with Yvonne and Jim, and we'll get you copies of anything that we have. Jim, did you have anything else that you'd like to add?
I did, a couple things. At one time, we talked with GRW about our planning, a little bit about our comprehensive plan, going through our ordinances. What I would like to do at first is kind of go through this. There's a little bit, I think, an easier way we can do this and piecemeal it. And I was talking with Ted last week. One thing that we're lacking is a lot of our forms. We've got forms all over the place, some old. So I would like her to go through all our forms, our applications for whether it be a subdivision, whether it be a variance, and completely redo those. And I think that price was $1,300. So
Is that the lady who called me?
it could be, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Because that's the one that there was to
This-
redo everything.
This is that one that's, it's $61,000, this is everything. But, I do think, when we look at like some of our zonings and things, we got to get back in there because we're looking at an R2 area, that kind of popped up and hit us, and we really need to go through that and
So for $1,300, you'll update all of our forms? and
all
make
of
sure
our
we-
forms, yeah. That's step one, so.
The first step?
Yes.
Okay, but it's
Yeah.
at least an improvement,
Oh, very much, yeah.
okay? Is there a motion regarding having GRW update all of our forms and applications?
I'll make that motion for $1,300.
Is there a second?
I second that motion.
Any discussion? I'll just chime that I think it's a good use of money to
Okay.
get the forms updated.
Yeah.
Um,
Second,
Well, hang on,
Okay, I'm
Any other
sorry.
discussion? All those in favor of hiring GRW for an amount not to exceed $1,300 to provide updated forms and applications, please indicate by saying aye. Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Chris, are you an aye?
yep,
That's an aye.
yeah. Okay, second, Lennar Homes. Lennar Homes, they're looking at the 70-plus acres for launches. And they've came in with a ordinance and kind of want to meet with the planning commission. However, I think it would be beneficial, we do the same process as we did with Melissa Gerard and maybe meet and then kind of go through this so we don't get into this because they want to continue the PUD from Copperstone. And I understand why. It's a little different than what they want over there, but I think as a committee, I think we should look at it and then, bounce it off and then before we get to the planning stage.
Okay, I mean,
I
we
can
had
set
a
this
committee
meeting
that
up,
met
yep.
with the other folks, and, there were a lot of items that we didn't agree on,
Yeah.
and we haven't heard back from them since.
Yeah, and so really, it wouldn't be worth the time of the planning to have to, visit something we know it's gonna get popped down, so, fair enough.
Okay,
Then on 6/14, we're meeting with Commonwealth. They've got three designs on the new plant. They will be giving us the options there. Kyle and I, we will meet with them. I think you're more than welcome to have council, come to this meeting. They will give us the prices and probably a timeline, and then they'll probably be at the next town hall meeting. at that
okay,
point.
and that's June 14th at what time?
I'd have to look. I think it's 10:30.
Would
but
you
I-
let
I will
everybody
email.
know?
I'll
Because
email,
if any-
yeah, yeah,
If no more than 2 council members are interested in attending, we don't want to
Yep.
make it a public meeting. Although, as long as you're not discussing business, 3 or more council members can be present in the same place.
okay.
So,
Fair
but
enough.
yeah,
Is that the three things he gave us before, that he gave us?
Yeah,
or
kind of
like
about the
that?
same thing, yes. Little more information.
Yeah.
And then, so what else I have? I have 3, we've budgeted for this. Zoe's Place, we had $1,500 budgeted for that. We had $1,500 budgeted for senior living, and we have $1,000 for Main Street. And I'd like to go ahead and get those checks cut since we budgeted for it last year. I know Main Street, they need them for some T-shirts for the Summerfest. And I know Zoe's Place and senior living could always use a little extra boost, so if we could
Okay.
get those checks cut.
is there a motion regarding those items?
I make a motion that we approve the summer checks to three polling places.
I'll second that motion. Is there any discussion? And let's just make sure we've got, Zoe's Place was how much?
1,500.
And then Main Street,
Main Street was 1,000.
and
And
who's,
Senior
the
services.
senior services
Services.
was 1,500.
okay. Is there any discussion regarding any of those items? All those in favor of making those payments, please indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
I,
Thank you, Chris. Okay, that's 5-0. We'll make those distributions. Anything else, Jim?
That's it.
Yvonne, welcome back.
Thank you.
Do you have anything you'd like to add this evening?
No, I wanted to talk to you about the RDC meeting and the training about the TIF, which we already have touched on. And the only other thing I have is we have another insurance claim, and a little accident with the town vehicle. Everybody's fine. There is some damage to the vehicle and damage to the other person's vehicle. Unfortunately for them, they were just on their way to Disney World for vacation. So they were delayed in leaving a little bit and had to move to a rental car. In the meantime, we're getting this vehicle fixed. We haven't quite, we just got the, appraiser of what it's gonna cost, or quote, what it's gonna cost. And we haven't scheduled repairs yet, but we've talked to the insurance company, and it seems like we can only get one bid and go ahead and get it fixed. So I just sent that information to them,
Okay,
so.
thank you for that information. Anything else, Yvonne?
No, that's it.
Okay. Let's move on to public comment. So at this point, we'll open the floor to the public. If you would, just please come up to the podium, give us your name and address, and anything you'd like to share this evening.
I really don't wanna go up there, so.
All right, just stand up and give us your name and address.
My
And
name is Mark Stick, and I live down on 3906, South 500 West New Pal. Just a couple questions. I've got no clue what I'm doing here, but I see this town's gonna start to grow. So is this ordinance where you give people permission to let this place have more business and more houses and everything?
the particular resolution that was voted on earlier in the meeting, what that is regarding is a proposed apartment development immediately south of the wellness center.
So what does the town get out of that apartment building coming here?
Jim, do you know how, there are 280 units?
I think it's
Mostly agreed.
282 units, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Financially, are you asking?
Well, here's what I'm asking this for. I moved from Greenwood to here about 7 years ago.
Mhm.
And Greenwood is terrible. And so I would hate to see this town do the same thing Greenwood did. And when the houses went in down there in 500 and they're far apart, and they're not on half acres, there was no brick, I just hate to see that happen to this town. So I don't know what I can do to help so that doesn't happen.
Well, certainly sharing your opinion is a great first step, and I think that the council agrees 100% that we would like to kind of see some responsible growth. What does
So
happen?
why?
Well, because if we don't have responsible growth, then what's going to happen is exactly what's happening at Carroll Road. Developers are going to go to the county, they will find exactly where town limits are, and they'll go just outside it. They do nothing through the town. They go to the county and they get approval to build Centennial and everywhere else where, you could get your salt right through the window from the neighbor's house without leaving your door. Just lean out and you can shake hands. Some of them are that close. The county will allow that. So within town limits, at least we have some zoning requirements, some density requirements, lot size requirements, and we have recently had developers who've wanted to build that were below our standards, and we've indicated that we're not willing to accept those.
So if you're gonna put this apartment building in,
Mhm.
you got a whole town of New Pal, okay, but why don't you have a vote with the town and see if they agree with it? And explain, I mean, you got a little group here, and I wouldn't even know what was going on if it wasn't for Dale and his friend Jason.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm saying, you're gonna start putting stuff in here, and there's probably a lot of people here don't agree with what's gonna happen. So I mean, I'd like to get involved and try to be part of this, but, I mean, I have no clue what all this stuff says.
Well, and coming to meetings is a great first
Yeah,
step.
how is one person, me, gonna change that?
Well, everybody has an opinion. Everybody can share that. We consider everything.
What I'm saying is, so, my opinion is we said today, and you guys still gonna do the same thing, the apartment's gonna go in. Have you asked anybody in the surrounding area what they think about putting an apartment in?
We haven't taken a survey, no.
I have.
Why wouldn't you wanna do that?
I've talked to people before. I want to hear everybody's opinion before I sat up here and made a vote. I did talk to the fire department, talk to the police department, talk to Bob Yoder at the school, the ones that are affected by the TIF, and I had already spoken with all of them before.
And what did they say?
They're not completely on board, but when it was explained to them, they did show up at the meeting. I think it was the last meeting.
So what did you explain to them to make it be on board?
Bill was explaining that the TIP allocation that they said that they weren't going to get any money of, that money will go into the RDC, and then the RDC can help them out with other things.
So when you bring more, if I sound like I'm frustrated, because I am, but if you start bringing more people in, the roads will have to be redone, the schools have to be redone. Why would
School
you
is
let
being
this little town
redone.
grow and get like that? I have a hard time understanding that.
Well,
So you're gonna be like the town of Greenwood, the town of Greenfield down there?
no,
That's what you're working on, making this town to be.
what we can't do is put up a wall and tell people that they can't develop their property.
So if you
I
put a
mean-
subdivision in, I'm just saying,
Mhm.
and you let them put the houses where they could burn each other's down, and not on a half acre and not brick or something, like most of them are, why wouldn't you still do that?
Well, we have zoning requirements, and if somebody comes in with a PUD, where the reason for a PUD is to alter those requirements, I can't speak for the planning commission or the town council. I can only say my personal opinion. I don't know that PUDs are going to be favorably received. I have yet to see one that I would vote for.
Right?
Not if we don't approve it.
Well,
Unless it's in the county. If it's in the county, you're in the wrong place. The county will approve next to anything. And if you want, just look at Centennial North and everything else, the things you're complaining about probably originated in the county. Within town limits, we do have a little bit of say.
Yeah, may I want to say something? I'm on the planning commission. One thing that we also consider is that we don't do anything, because Cumberland has already suggested and indicated they want to come down, they want to go like a 300 south, they want to go 600 west, maybe even further. The one that we're talking about now is 4-star, that's across from Copperstone on 500 west, as you mentioned, between 2 and 3 south. And they want to put 385 homes or something like that. But if we say no, then we find out Cumberland already has a sewer plant at 600 west and 200 south. So they can come down, go by county rules, and they can put it in, and not even, we have no say on it. So, not to say we're for it or against it, but sometimes we have to look at if we don't do anything, and Cumberland's gonna annex, and the county's gonna do this and do that. I mean, it's a really touchy situation, and we'd like to get from everybody what we can. The apartments that you're talking about, I know Greg's here and Dale's here, they directly affect them because it touches their property. And we've talked about that, and with the hospital, they told us that they had many people wanted to move in there, whatever, they haven't told us what, but people that wanted to move in there that weren't going to be desirable for them. So if they're not desirable for them, they're not for us. So it's sometimes called controlled growth. It might not look like that. And then we get other things like, okay, you just upgraded your sewage plant, now you need to do it again because of additions. That's not the case. It was some things that didn't happen correctly like we thought. And then just inflation. If we don't get more revenue, then then we're not gonna even be able to pay our employees. So it's a really difficult thing to keep it a small town. I've lived here since 1969. I moved out, but I've been here since 1969. I like the small town. We don't have any restaurants either. So, I mean, we're trying to do our best, and we encourage everybody to come.
See, but putting a restaurant in is a lot different than putting a subdivision in with 400 houses. It's only 16 feet apart, and I'm not sure I know what I'm saying.
You're pretty close, yeah.
Yeah.
You're
So somebody's allowing that to happen. And I think if you got people in this town, a lot of them wouldn't want that to happen. That's why they live here. That's why they vote people in to take care of this kind of stuff.
That's right. That's right. But restaurants won't come unless you have people. So,
That's right.
you know, where do we go?
Yeah, but I guarantee if you open a couple lots, somebody's gonna put a restaurant in.
They've had it. Thorpe has had 5, 6, 8 lots open for 5 years, and now we just got 2 to come in. So, yeah.
So you gotta let houses in so you can let restaurants in and get more and more people.
But that's not the main reason.
Well, I mean, but that's bottom
Yeah.
line.
No, not really.
Well, what is the bottom line of letting this town grow and get out of control?
Wait, may I ask, how long you lived here?
7 years now.
7 years. You're fairly new to this town. What happens if we just said, hey, we didn't want you here? You know, then we got a lot of people.
Buy my house and tell me to get the heck out of here.
That's not our purpose, though. We've got families that are moving out here for a reason. I've been out here since. Let me talk for a minute. Let me
Them
talk.
houses that's been put
Fair.
over there.
I've been here since 1969. There's never been a time where I've drawn the line and said, you know what? I don't want anybody else in here more. I don't.
Say that.
What are you saying?
I'm saying that it has some control over it, because them houses that got put in down there are ridiculous. They'll
Well-
take down the value of these houses that's around here.
That all went through the county.
That was allowed to happen.
That went through the county.
That's the county.
That's right.
And that's what happens when we don't act. You get the density,
how
you get
are
the
you gonna
density
stop it?
that the county, within the town limits, you come by our density requirements. And we don't give variances, and we don't allow PUDs. But when you start in the county,
Maybe the
I'm sup-
gentleman isn't quite aware of how small the town limits really are.
Maybe I don't, but I'm just saying, it just seems to me that you vote people in, and every time people get voted in, stuff just goes on, business as usual, and people make money and things go on. And like I said, I come from Greenwood, I lived there since 1994 till, I think it'll be 8 years this year. That town was crazy. That's why I moved out of there. And I hate to see that happen here.
okay.
So maybe we gotta do is move out another 20 miles, get away from everything again. And the only people that has control of that is you guys.
They're elected. So if you want to run next time, feel free to.
You know what, if I had a little more education and knew how to do some stuff, I would.
You know what? It's common sense. I don't think you have to have a degree to sit up there. I think you just have to have common sense.
No, well, I'm saying you guys are the ones that are up there. Why, and when you do these things, why don't you involve the people in the committee and see if they agree with you or not?
This office is open twice a month. You're more than welcome to come in here.
How many people from this town is in here right now? I wouldn't even be in here if I didn't know some of this stuff.
Yeah.
I seem frustrated, but I just want to live here another 10 years from now, and this place is crazy. I'll shut up.
No, thank you. I mean, that's why we have a public comment
Yeah, but-
section on our
Yeah, but I'm saying, how does
agenda.
people of New Bell get involved? You guys help get them involved, because they're not gonna do it, because on a regular day, they go to work, they take care of their family, and they go about their business. So somehow you guys need to help get everybody involved, let them know what's going on, and see if everybody agrees with what you're thinking.
Sure, and, each one of these commissions and committees, they're community members. They're there for the purpose of having input. So, that coordinate with Jim, and, if you're interested in being on one of the boards or commissions and getting more involved. Yeah, go right ahead.
How does he recommend we get people to show up and get involved?
I guarantee if you had a vote down at a library like you do on election day, some people would show up.
We can't just call random votes. There's
Why?
statute that dictates that at the state level.
Well, and we have a meeting. It's the first and the third Wednesday of every month. I mean, it's like
You're
clockwork.
welcome to come here. We're all neighbors too.
Yeah, but I can't, I'm gonna shut up because I can't do nothing about it.
Well, but now, so,
But you're here,
so
you're involved.
look at, I mean, earlier I was criticized because I'm on too many commissions or boards, and when we have trouble filling them, I'm all in. So I won't apologize ever for being involved because that's what I do. And so, you know, we're here like clockwork, but what you see tonight, we're gonna be here for an hour and 15 minutes tonight. And to get ready for this meeting probably was another 5 hours. Then when we have things like this apartment complex, some of us traveled to another facility that they own in Indianapolis and toured it. There are hundreds of hours. Ask Angie, how many hours are behind the scenes? You don't show up on a Wednesday and make a vote without a lot of information and a lot of background work. So, you know, we're doing the best we can. We get input. Our phone numbers are public. People call me around the clock. Sometimes they agree and sometimes they don't, and that's perfectly fine. I mean, that's what we do. But when the rubber hits the road, what we try to do is our best. And every vote from every person is based on their personal experience and their opinions. What I can say, there's nobody in town hall or on this commission or on the council or any of our commissions that has a conflict of interest or is doing something for the wrong reasons. We can disagree on a vote. Don't care one bit about that. Doesn't hurt my feelings if Brandy votes yes and Angie votes no. Whatever it is, we take a vote on a particular matter and we move on. But we do the best we can.
It's just like a political election. Once the person's elected, they're elected. So when we vote, that's the way, you know, the majority rules, that's the way it goes.
So, and every 4 years, all 5 council members are on the ballot. And it's only once that I can remember, because it was me, were there more applicants than there were positions on the council. I've lived here for 32 years. It's happened one time. And I was a troublemaker that did it. So,
Can I say something?
sure, you want to be a troublemaker too?
I was in your seat back in 2019, and I wanted to see a change, and it wasn't happening by me coming to the meetings. So I sense your frustration. I'm not a political person. I'm an RN. No clue about any of this stuff. I mean, it was a crash course, but ran for council so that I could have my voice heard and to do those changes. And I hear what you're saying about the community getting bigger. What's different for New Pal is we're not McCordsville and we're not Fortville. We don't have the luxury of backing up to Geist. We back up to the east side of Indianapolis with the highest crime rate and the highest murder rate. So in my mind, when we start talking about this stuff, that's what I'm concerned about. I do not want to roll out a red carpet from the east side to invite that to grow this way. So I hear what you're saying, and I understand.
And so I'll throw in, again, and I'm in no way trying to lecture, I'm sharing an opinion. So these apartments, if those don't go, then what does? Do we get another subdivision? Does it sit empty? I mean, I'm personally a big believer in one in the hand is better than two in the bush. What we have here is quality. The lowest rent is going to be $900 a month. The highest is $1,900 a month. I'm sorry, $1,100 was the lowest, $1,900 is the highest. So, you know, to Angie's comment, are we going to have a bunch of gangbangers from the east side moving into those apartments? No, they're not going to pay $1,100 a month when they can live somewhere for $200 a month. So again, what we're doing is plain and simple, in our opinion, what we think is best.
I met with Mohammed back in January to go see the apartments that he does own up by St. Vincent Hospital, and toured them to see what kind of apartments we were talking about putting in here. And then he actually asked what we did, and Bill said that he was an attorney and Jim was a town manager, and he asked me what I do. I'm the guard dog. And I told him, when I go back home, what I'm going to do is I'm going to research you and everything about you. So if there's anything you want to tell me now, because if not, I'm going to go dig it up. I didn't find anything. I mean, there were some tenants that you're gonna get with any apartment complex that had some issues, but there's nothing. But he's gonna build the apartments here, but now he has a personal investment. He doesn't wanna see the town go downhill. He's gonna invest into the town. So that's what we're looking to do here. We're not just gonna let any development come in and put these houses on top of each other. And when Jim was talking about us redoing with, what was it, the zonings and everything else?
Oh, yeah.
Make some changes to those, so that when they do come in and we say we want it to be like an R1, so the lots are bigger, and then the homes are bigger, and attracting those types of houses to equal out the houses that we already have. That's what we would like to see happen, but that's only in town, what we can do in town limits.
We also, one last thing, we also are doing our best to restrict rentals, because as we all know, large corporations, even foreign corporations, are buying brand new homes and turning them immediately into rentals. So by law, we can't demand that, but we're asking developers to do that, and put in their covenants for 2 years, and then the HOA takes over. And the fact that we're all property owners, so anything we do will affect our property value as well. And
But that's not a conflict, Clint.
yeah, being an old man, that's part of my retirement. When I sell my home, that's part of my retirement, you know, so, like I say, we're doing our best, and we love where you come to some of the meetings, and you can hear what's going on, and be prepared for what might be up for vote in 2 months or 3 months or something.
And if you have any questions, you can send me an email. Like Dale sent an email. He has asked repeatedly to have some of the stuff clarified for him. I brought it up in the meeting so that he could get the answers that he needed, and I could make sure that they were following through with getting Dale what he needed. If there's anything like that that you need, send me an email. If you want an explanation, you don't want to do it out here in the public and you're not going to make it, let me know, and I could get that to you too. Because I'm kind of, that's what I do up here, is I make sure that we keep the checks and balances, so like the town council president isn't on, you know, the planning and the redevelopment. I'm up here to make sure that stuff like that doesn't happen.
And we're in town hall Monday through Friday, 8 to 4. Come in and ask anything that you want, or if you're looking for something.
They're very nice,
We try to be.
honestly.
You know, you said,
They're
I'm
very
not
nice,
mad,
they're very helpful.
I'm not mad at any one of you guys. I'm just saying is if you look what's going on around us, and you're explaining to me that you can't do nothing about it because it's the county. But it's gonna spread into here, and people is gonna say, oh, we can get more money for us, and you're gonna let more and more stuff come into here, and it's gonna turn. Yeah, I guarantee you, you're not gonna stop it.
How do you stop it? We got a farm just outside town. It's in our incorporated limits. It's zoned R2. We've got rental homes that wants the, they're interested in it, How do you stop it? Legally, we can't. So, I mean, that kind of gets into the big law of things.
But fortunately, the owner of that particular property told them no. They wouldn't sell to them. We, as a municipality, can't regulate that. But thank goodness, centuries of family ownership, they don't want that in their town. We couldn't stop it if they sold their property for that purpose, and if they built to our size, there's nothing we can do to stop it.
Well, I don't know about that.
Well,
Is single-family houses allowed in TIF districts?
Yes.
Not
Yep.
under that, not according to what it says. You have to.
They might,
That wasn't the tip.
It could only
Yeah.
be
It is.
1% of the, there's percentages involved there
yeah.
There's two things
that they can never match.
There's an
yeah.
allocation.
So, again, welcome to our world and our frustration. But, we'd like to see responsible growth, some business. People come in all the time and say, why aren't you doing more business? We want 3% tax-paying entities, not 1%, which is residential. Apartments pay 2%. It's kind of a hybrid. It's part of a business and it's part of residential. Can you imagine, what would happen if a spec warehouse was to go there? It pays 3%. Some people would be all for it because it pays more taxes. I don't want that. Not in town limits. Now, if they go to the county and they're outside town limits, we can't stop them. And that's what happened with some of the subdivisions to the north that you're talking about, the density. So,
I apologize.
Oh, no apology needed at all. We're still in public comments. Dale?
Yep. Dale Wagner, 4462 South 600 West. First off, since there's been some discussion on it, I did ask for some information on the Planning Commission. My understanding of it is that 3 people have to be either from the town council or an employee of the town, and the other 4 can be appointed, but only 2 of them can be from the same political party. So
I'm sure that's not a requirement. If that were the case, we couldn't have anybody.
Actually, it is a requirement.
What is
It is, it is a requirement, but we've never had,
If they don't apply, we
Right.
can't appoint them.
right.
So
I mean, that's simple.
just saying. Also, I brought this up before, so talking about the
Thank you.
the TIF, this was the TIF for HRH, the hospital. I ran the report. There's still the three parcels on here that we're getting money from. The money being reported to the state is not right. The parcels are not right. I shared with you all the ordinance. I shared it in your emails. The ordinance, I think it's 12, 18, 19, from the hospital when it was originally set up. There's some interesting stuff in that ordinance about some things that are supposed to have happened with that $7.2 million. There is a description of the project. It says it will also include a multi-purpose community center and corresponding walking trails, basketball courts, pickleball courts, and other community-focused amenities. And these amenities being part of the TIF, the $7.2 million, we're not supposed to require that you be a member. They were supposed to be part of that complex. So when in that paperwork, you'll notice when they talk about the property, they talk about the entire property. Now they're planning to sell off some of it. Frankly, the what they call a multi-use trail is a narrow sidewalk, which doesn't really qualify because it dead ends at the city property line or the city limits. So I think there's a lot of things in here. There's also that I've talked about this before about how many jobs will the apartments bring, and in this agreement, the hospital agreed to bring over the next 3 years 100 new permanent full-time jobs. So there was a job requirement in here. So there was a lot of things that we've discussed. Greg has discussed. Chris has discussed.
And Dale, were those agreements and numbers, those were in the development agreement, is that correct?
Those are in the TIF agreement for the $7.2 million.
Okay,
It's all part of that.
right, because we're not.
Not the development agreement which occurred before that.
Okay. Well, because we are contemplating there will be a new development agreement
Send it to Dale.
as this apartment project moves forward. And so there's a lot of opportunity for input in, what should or shouldn't be included in that area.
Right. Also, Angie made the comment about talking to the police and the firemen, and I've sent you all the state's PowerPoint on TIFs, and the comment was made in the last meeting that the school can come and ask the redevelopment commission for a school bus. The fire department can ask for an ambulance. There is nowhere that I've found yet that says those are accepted expenses. Some of the expenses are things like street lighting, parking facilities, acquisition of real estate, construction of water and sewer lines, roads, streets, sidewalks for access into the new development, pay the principal and interest on bonds and leases, and pay expenses of the redevelopment commission for the public improvements. But there's nothing in here about anybody getting an ambulance. So that concerned me, because I think you talk to a fireman who probably knows a lot of people, and now a lot of people think that everybody's going to get a new ambulance. And I don't know that that's an acceptable expense, and hopefully we'll figure that out in this resolution that you push forward without comment from the public. So then the other one, my letter.
Dale, can you say that with a straight face? We've had this on the agenda for about 6 meetings.
To make a comment, you all pushed through the vote without any comment from anyone here.
We didn't have at this particular meeting prior to the vote. You're absolutely correct, but that's because we've had comment at least six meetings or more. So I really do take exception with that comment.
I don't think you draw a line on it. I don't think you draw a line on it. No. If somebody wanted to make a comment, they should have been able to make a comment. So, yeah. You can, yeah, it's just, I don't think you draw a line. On my letter, the whole annexation fiscal plan, and a lot of people may think that, that I'm picking at things, but there are things in here like the numbers for 4 years, and there's certain requirements, and these aren't things that I'm going, this is in the ordinance, this is in the actual fiscal plan. It says, we'll tell you this, we'll tell you this, we'll tell you this. And they don't. They tell you maybe 2-3 years out. So your numbers are finally corrected. The dollars are corrected, but the number of years that they say they're going to give you are not there. The things like the there's in this one here. Let's see. This one, the fiscal plan is a result of an analysis of the proposed annexation area and significant input and assumptions provided by town officials and the developer. To get significant input from the developer seems like a conflict of interest. Interesting how that comes around. A conflict of interest because it's in his interest that he gives the information. And so I'm not sure that he's making up a report, he's providing information that's in his best interest, that you're making your considerations from. It also says in here, the annexation area is contiguous to the town for purpose of Indiana Code 3643.1.5. When you look up that code, it's contiguous territory annexation of public highway. So there's things in here like that that make absolutely no sense. There's another Indiana code cited, which is not even a real number. It's 3643B, a capital B, which is not, it's not an Indiana code, so I have no idea what it means. I wouldn't be so frustrated with this if I didn't feel like this was the same boilerplate that I saw years ago when the hospital was starting their project. This is the same fiscal plan, it's the same garbage in here, there are no numbers. I know I've heard Bob talk about public safety. When you keep getting a fiscal report that says you're going to build a big subdivision, it's not going to affect police at all. So don't worry, Bob, the apartments going in not going to affect you. 280 whatever apartments, it's not going to affect you. So don't worry about whether you get any TIF money, because according to these fiscal plans, so yes, when we say they're garbage, they're garbage. I don't know how you are making decisions based on these things.
Thank you. Anyone else? Come on up.
Yes, Greg Spivey. I just have some questions. One is, on the Economic Development Committee, or whatever group that is you mentioned, is that the same people as the Redevelopment Committee, or is that different?
It's same.
Oh, it's the same thing.
No, Economic Development Commission and Redevelopment Commission are two different committees.
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You said who was on the Redevelopment Committee, or Commission. Can you say who's on the Economic Development?
It's on the website. I have it up.
Joe
Yes.
Franklin.
Joe Franklin, I'm sorry, Dale Dara, and Andy Newmeister.
Okay. And then I have a question about that resolution you passed for that's a study of the TIF, or a resolution to study the TIF? What?
No, it's a preliminary resolution to determine whether we should move forward at all. And I'll tell you, that's because the developer who first approached us in December said, make a decision, because if not, we're going somewhere else.
Okay.
So it was just, are we even interested in pursuing it or not? That's
Right,
what the
okay.
preliminary resolution was.
Yeah, and I'm not questioning the resolution. I just wondered who's going to do that study? Will that be privately done that you pay for, or will that be among what group that's going to do this?
What study? We today, that resolution
Right.
says proceed with the statutory mechanism, which at the last meeting, I handed out a timeline. And I'll be happy, if you want to give me your email address, I can
Okay.
email you.
I was out of town at the last meeting.
We can't make them all,
Yeah.
but there's a timeline, and it shows every step that's required by statute and what entity, group
Okay.
walks from beginning to end. And I'm happy to share,
Okay.
just
I
give me your
was
email
just
address.
asking a question.
No, that's the process. Anyone else?
Yeah, I just like to say, I probably got a little mad because I see what's going on, and I apologize to you guys. I think you're all trying to probably do a good job. Got a good police department here. I think it's a good town. I just didn't want to see it go bad. So, not knowing you guys very well, I probably voted for some of you, not really knowing as much as I needed to know.
Well, and I think Mr. Wally probably hit it on the head best when he said, you know, we are all neighbors, we're all homeowners, we all care. You know, and Angie said, and not because of any one particular element other than crime. When we say we don't want the east side of Indianapolis, there are a lot of good people in the east side of Indianapolis that we would welcome with open arms. But there's also some, you know,
Yeah, but if it keeps growing, it's gonna come this way, and then I feel sorry for the police department to keep putting out their hands full like they do downtown. So,
Yeah.
like I said, I just wanna make that comment. I'm not mad at one of you guys. I like living in this town. I like the way it is. I just hate to see it go, like I said, like Greenwood. That area is just, go down there about 5 o'clock and try to drive around, so I just wanted to apologize if I
not a problem at all. But thank you. I mean, we encourage folks to share their opinions. So, anyone else? Then let's move on to my personal favorite portion of the agenda. That's consideration of claims.
Ms. Council comments.
Council comment.
Oh, I skipped that. We don't have it. Thank you. I just got so enthusiastic about claims. Let me start with.
Unnumbered agenda.
Let me go with council comments. Clint, you have anything you'd like to add?
I just wanted to know, in the TIF district, do we have to file every year to collect that TIF money from the government, or do they automatically do it?
That gets sent to us automatically.
Huh?
That gets sent to us automatically.
Oh, okay. That's what I wanted to ask.
Via ACH.
Chris, we're at council comments. Do you have anything you'd like to add?
Sorry I'm not there today. I know it's been tough with this delay. I'll be there next week.
Well, thank you very much, Chris, for come back in 2 weeks, Chris.
I'll be there every week.
Thank you, Chris. Enjoy your vacation. Brandy, you have anything you'd like to add?
No, other than a reminder, I will not be able to make the next council meeting because of my primary job conflict obligation that evening, so
Okay.
gotta do some work.
Okay, thank you. Angie?
Dale, keep going. I like it. You're making everybody up here think and be held accountable, so keep up the good work. That I don't have to do as much.
I don't have anything to add this evening. So now we'll move on to claims.
Thank you.
Tonight, we are requested to consider town meeting APV numbers 23985 through 24008, wastewater and sanitary, stormwater. Wastewater and stormwater meeting APVs 23896 through 24019, payroll and gross payroll APVs 24009 through 24013, and payroll deduction checks 24014 through 24017. Let's start with a motion. Do we have a motion regarding those claims as presented in your backup materials?
I make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion regarding any of the claims as presented? All those in favor of approving the claims as presented, please indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? For the record, Chris voted loud enough to count for 2 ayes, and the claims are approved. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Tell Chris
All
to
those
enjoy
in
his
favor of
vacation.
adjourning, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Chris, thank
Thank you,
you.
Ms. Briggs.
We are adjourned.